Yeah, it's right here.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Senator Buckley, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So I'm going to start this party going. I'm Susan Bryant from CSCR, which stands for the Center for Student Coastal Research. And tonight's social event involves a whole lot of acronyms, in part because we have a grant from NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, and they're, federal government. Everything in Washington has a million acronyms, so there's a lot of them. So we're CSCR, Center for Student Coastal Research here in Cohasset, the building down there in the yellow next to the boat ramp. I think everybody knows where that is. The purpose of today's gathering is to get us to think about how we can make more fascinating, meaningful watershed education experiences. So you can see that that's a mouthful. So of course the people in Washington came up with an acronym for that one too, which is, well, if you have an African bent, you would call it MWE, or if you don't have an African bent, you might call it a MWE. So it's MWEE, meaningful, watershed, education, experiences, and we have a panel of students who have all experienced those things. So would you like to talk about the grant for a quick minute?
Sure, a quick minute. I'm Jack Buckley, one of the original members of the cast that established CSCR. So it's great to be with you tonight, and thanks so much for taking time to be with us and to hear from this wonderful group in front of the room. So the goal of the grant's pretty simple. Susan used the acronym MWE, and it really just means, I think you'll hear a little bit, get a flavor of what a MWE is, which is community-driven, authentic research. So the students are grappling with topics and research questions that have been raised in the community. So the goal of the grant is to take that sustained inquiry, because it's always bumping up against roadblocks in school, like schedules and buses and the other demands of the school. Move the MWE to the summer months, when students are ostensibly a little more free and sustained inquiry. So day after day, grinding out the research, etc. Move that to the summertime and work with school partners to create ways to connect it back into the school curriculum. So bridge it back into, create a bridge to the academic year in the way that the school's best sees fit for its particular district. So it's great that we have Scituate students and Hingham students and Cohasset students, and there are students from other schools as well who couldn't make it tonight and who work with us in the summertime. So that's the essence of the goal. Move the MWE to the summer months and make that connection, academic connection, during the school year. I think I covered that.
Yep, and then the goal for this event is to mix it up. It is, yes, a social, and we want to mix it up and get you all talking to each other. Like, remember we used to do that before COVID? And think about some great ideas and a lot of times the great ideas bubble up through conversation. So having a low-key time for people to do that, we hope will create some great ideas and possibly new partnerships can blossom from that. Even just my little conversations with the students here are always like, oh, that's a good idea. Wow. So at the end of this, we will have a little, we're educators, we really can't help ourselves. We always ask you questions and we want answers. So we kind of call this the pizza for your thoughts part of it. At the end, before you leave, we would love it if you would use that little QR code over there.
It's on the pizza box,
it's on the
back table, it's on that table over there as well.
It's like a treasure hunt. You can go around, scan that thing, and that will take you to a very short survey. And it will, and with that short survey, we would love to capture any thoughts that you have for us going forward, based on 3 totally simple questions, which we throw at the students a fair amount too. We like them to be reflective, and so now that will be, when you leave, that will be your chance to be reflective with a question. I like, ... fill that blank in. I wonder, could be anything after those 3 dots, and I bring, which could be time, it could be talents, it could be somebody else's resource, or it could be your own resource. Did I get it?
I'll give you an A.
All right. Oh, yes. Okay, not that I love being assessed in any way personally, but anyway, so that's that. So I want to just quickly move to our panel of students. It makes me so happy.
Can we do one quick thing first?
Yeah.
I just wanted to give Representative Joan Moschino an opportunity. Just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that Joan was here, and also Representative Kearney couldn't make it tonight, but his first-hand legislative aide, Katie Baxter, is here to speak on his behalf. So I just wanted to give them a quick minute to say hello and pass along any thoughts that, or share any thoughts that they wanted to with us.
Oh, thank you. So first of all, so I'm State Rep Joan Moschino from Hull, representing 3rd Plymouth, which is Hingham, Hull, and Cohasset. And I'm here with Katie Baxter, Rep Kearney's #1, his legislative aide. She is everywhere in the district, representing fourth Plymouth, which is
Situate, Marshfield, except for 1 precinct and 1 precinct of Norwell.
Great. So we came tonight, we always appreciate being invited, and for those of you who don't realize it, we actually do request and get interim briefings as well. And the reason we're here is because the programs that are being run out of CSCR actually have real world policy implications. And so on a very basic level, it's just fantastic and tremendous to engage students in research and using their brains and critical thinking and the skill sets that are going to help them get into college and to go on and to be not just citizen scientists, but real scientists, like in labs and things like that. But one of the reasons why we're here tonight is because the projects that they're working on actually inform a lot of the policy work that both myself and Rep Kearney and Senator Patrick O'Connor are actually working on right now. Climate change and a healthy environment are one of the existential issues facing not just our generation but the world. And a lot of this stuff happens at the local level, and so everything that you guys learn, you're going to carry that with you throughout your life, whether you can pursue science as a career. But the projects that you are doing right now actually informs some of the things that we're doing. So just by way of example, I filed a bill that will purports to regulate private wells during areas of drought, and you've educated me on why those kinds of things in the Ware River are so, and a healthy estuary are so important, and all of the carbon emissions work we do, and all of the climate change work we do. And it's directly because of the work that you do, bringing that forward, telling us that this is an important piece in our community. So we just wanted to come today, both to learn, to say thank you, to say well done, and to applaud your dedication both to learning your craft and to your civic engagement, your community. Did you want to add anything from the representative?
Well, just a couple of things. You stated exactly the use of the data. Remember, data helps us to quantify what we want to qualify in terms of policy development. And so, as Rep Moschino has said, Rep Kearney looks at the information from our community and he creates bills pertaining to beach nourishment, to coastal conservation. So the work is very exciting. And when we think about authentic learning, that's really about boots on the ground. And the boots on the ground work that we are all doing really does exemplify civic engagement. And that's really the lesson I think that Rep Moschino is sharing with us as well, that this effort together is helping us stay involved on so many different levels within the policy making. And just one little thought, Molly here has interned with our office, and that was really a wonderful experience. So think about that. Not only are you building a bridge between the work you do in the summer with your schoolwork in the fall, but there are other opportunities where you can be building a bridge of communication between the policymakers, these
Yep.
wonderful legislators, and the work that your group is doing. So thank you so very much.
And while we're up here, could we just take a pause, because we know no one else is going to do this, and ask for a round of applause for both Jack and for Susan and for all of the other adults that are leading these programs. I just think they deserve a round of applause if you guys don't mind.
Very good, Sean and
Okay, I'm
Val.
sorry, that's right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we know we'll see you when we actually do the part of our season where we deliver the data, and that's coming up. That is our signature event that we call the State of the Harbor, and that's when our students do present the results of all their projects, and they're all going, "You're not going to make me do that now," because we're not. That will happen in April. April 13th is the date of our State of the Harbor this year. And we love having the opportunity of presenting our projects to as many people who we consider stakeholders as possible. And we do have those two-way conversations. And I've seen the students, when they have those opportunities, they kind of go from this to, like, they grow 2 inches in the course of the night, realizing that they are, in fact, experts on some things that some of the adults are not. So that's really rewarding. But we're not doing that tonight. We're doing that April 13th, State of the Harbor. So tonight, what we're focusing on, instead of the data, we're focusing on the experience that the students have had and what it's like to learn in this way. And the goal of doing that is to think about how might we move education so that there's more things like this. Okay, so everyone's got April 13th, the State of the Harbor, data comes out then. This isn't about the data. This isn't about whether the eelgrass has disappeared. This isn't about whether we're not going to be able to swim tonight. This is about their personal experience as learning in a different way that engages in the community. All right. So on that note, I have a few questions. Let me first have each of you introduce yourself in that you're going to say, we go to X, we count Y, and we use Z. Ready? Go ahead, Nick.
My name is Nick Coldley. I'm a junior in Watershed High School, and I'm in the Dunegrass team that goes on to Baskins Beach Island, which is the island right over there. And we count the amount of dunegrass in certain areas with quadrats, which are 4x4 squares, and we count the amount that fall under each lattice of string, which we have attached to it, and implement it into our neural network data.
And a neural network is a very fancy coding thing, which we're still working on. Okay, go ahead, Max.
I'm Max Fernald. I am in CHS, a sophomore, and I am the lead researcher of the CSCR Eelgrass Margeau team. And we're currently trying to grow eelgrass in tanks to implement a control experiment in order to test CO wasting disease against eelgrass in high and low salinity environments.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. My name is Isabella Bottini. I am a senior at Hingham High School. I am a part of the oceanography team, which is a broad scope where we basically explore all parts of our ecosystem here, and we collect data pertaining to the water in the ocean.
Hello, my name is Jane Ryan. I'm a sophomore at Situate High School, and this summer I was part of the bacteria monitoring team, and we would go out and collect samples from our watershed, usually on the beaches, and we'd send that information to the town, and they'd use it to shut down the beaches if the levels were too high. And then we'd also use that data to we were wondering if the foam you see in the harbor had high amounts of bacteria, and it did. And yeah, we experimented with that.
I'm Molly Ryan. I'm a senior at Situate High School. This summer I worked with the new program at Situate High School called Be Wet through CSCR and Stellwagen Bank. And we focused on ocean acidification at the beaches in Situate, measuring the pH levels, salinity, and biodiversity.
Hi, my name is Bridget DeGroat. I am a senior at Cohasset High School, and I was also part of the bacteria monitoring team that Jane just described. But just to keep it in simple terms, what we did was our team went to Cohasset local beaches, and we collected water samples to bring them back to the lab for analysis.
Hi everyone, my name is Montana Castle. I actually graduated from Cohasset High in 2018, and I recently graduated from Towson University this past May. I majored in environmental public policy, and I had the honor of interning with Mr. Buckley in 2020 during COVID. I was very grateful to get an internship during then, but I worked with Bridget doing the bacteria monitoring as well. And then I also did a dual internship with Rob Muir at Ocean River Institute, where I did a healthy lawns campaign where I was able to network with local organizations and study the soil ecosystems. I currently work for the town of Cohasset as the resiliency and grant coordinator. I'm working on a few projects right now, but you may have heard of my community composting pilot program that is currently in the works. But I'm just happy to be here, and I'm grateful for CSCR because it allowed me to love the environment and allow for activism, so thank you.
So she's our alumna. And then we have Owen Gertz behind the camera here.
So I've been basically just making a documentary with the Eelgrass team, and basically I got funded from MIT to make a documentary, and
MIT Sea Grant.
Yeah, Sea Grant, and
So look for a red carpet screening of this movie sometime this spring. Okay, so panel questions is, the first one I have is, I want you to tell us what you feel, so meaningful is part of this meaningful watershed educational experience. So I'm going to take that first word. Can you guys speak on what has been meaningful about participating in a project like this?
I can go. I'd say what's meaningful to me is sort of working with everyone and getting to know the people in your group and sort of their diverse ideas and getting to know them better and getting to know the project better through people sort of contributing what they think might help the team, which might be different than from what you might think. So it's really helpful to sort of gather everyone's ideas and help the project along that way.
Yeah, and I feel like from what so this is a project that I work with, and I feel like I saw that team really evolve a lot and grow into those roles this past summer. It was great. Yeah.
I agree with that too. I think it's just the connections that you make at CSCR. It's so wonderful. It could be like you working with people over the summer with the people that go to the same school as you, or you can meet other people from other schools, and I just, like, the connections can lead you anywhere. Like, you can meet so many new people at CSCR, and I think that's great.
Jane, did you want to say that thing that you were saying about the lab?
Oh yeah, I just feel like there's so many there's so many experiences at CSCR that you don't necessarily get in the classroom because there's just not enough time always, and kind of seeing how things you learn in class might correlate to research you did over the summer, or even like the equipment that there is at CSCR is, I feel like it's much more advanced than what they have at the schools, and being able to use that I feel like is meaningful, and I feel it at CSCR I signed up for, and then doing it over the summer I'd be excited to go there every morning, and I'd be thinking like, oh, I wonder how my lab results came back, and like you're saying, the people you meet, it's all just like a great experience.
Yeah, I would say Max and Owen, you have that same experience of you wonder what the results are going to be.
Yeah, and to add on to meeting new people, every time a new person has come onto the team and I've like really met them, they always have some sort of unique talent that really adds to the team, whether it be filmmaking or amazing at diving or some sort of artistic skill that really allows us to deepen the connection between CSCR and our project.
Yeah, and then that sounds like a very human resources kind of mentality. Is that something that happens a lot in school, or is this unique and different?
It's really unique to CSCR, as in school it's like you have to do this project in this way. You have to you don't really get to implement your own like your own feedback for who you are as a person. Well, in CSCR you get to shape the project how you want to lead it and add your own spin to it, or do something to it. Like Owen, he came up to me and said, let's make a documentary, and that has been hugely successful.
And then who had Montana, that was you.
Yeah. During
COVID, you kind of made your own.
Yeah, I will say it definitely, going back to college the following fall, it allowed me to understand what I did want to do with my major in college, and I actually joined a club called Eco Activism at Towson University. But it also geared me to understand what I did want to do with the networking and working with communities, and I do now work for the town of Cohasset, so I say it worked out pretty well.
And then it was you that worked with Gulf River, right?
Yeah, so that was part of my networking when I worked with Ocean River Institute on my Healthy Lawns campaign. I worked with George McGoldrick, the president of the association, and he helped me connect with the residents to get them to pledge that they wouldn't use fast-release fertilizer or harmful pesticides, and they did pledge, and I'm hoping they're still doing that now, but I would say it was greatly successful.
So that's sort of one of the elements that we try to promote is having an authentic, real reason for doing this work. So we're not just playing at doing research, we're actually answering questions that people want to know. So that was your contact with them. Anybody else have contact with stakeholder organizations who are interested in your work? Go ahead.
I guess we kind of are in contact with a couple of different researchers around Massachusetts. We were talking with Juliet Simpson at MIT Sea Grant, who's also trying to grow eelgrass, and we've had about an equal level of success, which is really interesting. I believe we'll reach out soon to compare results. And we might see it on the slideshow. We also went to Nahant for Northeastern's project, and we also compared how we also saw how they grew eelgrass, and I've been really networking and building all these connections, which I think is really interesting.
Yep, and the DEM does flyovers of eelgrass beds, and so we actually ground truth by having students snorkel. And so the aerial flights just make a patch of darkness on the map, but we have students going down and saying, oh yeah, that actually is eelgrass, or oh, and actually not, that's seaweed. Right. Anyone else have any interaction with people beyond students and teachers for your project?
Well, my first year doing CSCR, when I first started, I remember hearing from the Provincetown Center for Student Coastal Research, and they kind of gave us a little presentation about their report on Scituate's storm tide pathway data.
Oh, yeah.
And so that kind of initiated the project that I began in my group to monitor storm tide pathways in Scituate and work on salt marsh resiliency.
And how does it make you all feel to work with those other organizations?
I think it made me feel like I could be part of something bigger. And when you look at climate change, it seems like such a big thing to tackle, especially when you're young. And so being able to work with real organizations and make a difference in your town makes you feel like you could actually make a career out of it. So.
Awesome. Anyone else have thoughts on that?
It definitely makes me feel valued working with being so young and just getting a degree and hearing that people and organizations that are higher up want to hear my opinion, they care about what I'm going to do and make a difference and yes, make a career out of it. And when people look at you and they say like, I'm so thankful that your generation cares about the environment, and that makes you feel valued in life and that you're doing the right things and putting your career and your education forward.
And that bacteria monitoring actually impacts, who does that go to?
Oh, yeah, so we did are you talking about the Stellwagen bank presentation?
Wait, did you do the bacteria that goes to the Board of Health?
Oh, yeah, so we also did bacteria monitoring, and our samples went to Board of Health for also an analysis, so we could compare our data with, also I think it was GNL too, laboratories that we collaborated with too, to compare our samples, just to see how well we were doing with collecting our water samples, making sure we didn't contaminate our samples or had any errors in it, and they aligned pretty well actually.
And then sometimes the Board of Health would come down and say, wait, we have questions about this data, and you guys would people would retest it, right?
Oh yeah, whenever there was like an error where our numbers lined up, that always led us to question and be like, what's causing our numbers to kind of like be different from these laboratories? So it's honestly, I love it. It's great. It just adds more like inspection into what's going on and kind of just like it pushes you to question more about what's happening and everything.
How do you feel that participating in these MIWI projects, watershed education experiences, shifted your thinking about what you can do? I think some of you already kind of answered it, but.
I can go. Well, I feel like in the beginning, when someone might join a new project, they might think they're not sort of smart enough as this is a science, these are science teams, so people might think that they're not capable enough of sort of understanding what we're doing in these projects. Like the Dungrass team, it's quite complicated and it takes some time to fully understand. But through sort of teamwork and working with people who will help you through and explaining what the projects are about and working with the actual project, it will help them sort of understand that project more.
And find their own niche, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so one of the questions we have is how can we, do these projects, does this type of learning work for all students? And, or is it just people who are really dedicated to science? And Nick said it beautifully that, no, you can join in and widen your own skills and find a niche, and maybe your niche in it is not as scientific as it is about making films. So Owen has definitely taken the artistic route through CSCR. Anyone else want to talk about how it shifts your thinking about what you can do? Yep, Max?
I mean, typically when at school, you're really learning from a textbook and a lecture style. And for people who don't succeed like that, like Nick said, you might not think you're smart enough or intelligent enough to go join CSCR. When you're in the water or on the land, you're really doing the tests and you're really hands-on. It's a really different way of learning that can really shift your view on how you can learn. And you can learn really well and learn concepts really deeply, which has been helpful for me.
Yes. Anyone else on that one? All right, how about, what was one unexpected thing that was really cool about participating in your project?
Something I found really cool was presenting to Stellwagen Bank this fall about the research that I did over the summer, and Bridget was there too, and so was Hannah. And so it was great that we could come together, and Stellwagen Bank is a national organization, so.
Yeah. Part of NOAA?
Yeah, so you're able to see how your work can contribute to the nation as a whole.
I feel like kind of the same thing with bacteria monitoring, whereas I didn't really know what it would entail, and actually like having results you can compare to the Board of Health, and that determines if the public beaches are shut down. I feel like that's so cool to be doing as teenagers, where your work can be compared to big organizations and determine like the quality of the water we're swimming in during the summers.
Yeah. All right, I think we're needing to wrap up our questions. Any other thoughts people would like to express to this group before we have everybody mingle and think about how we might make more of these kinds of opportunities? Yeah.
Overall, I just think this was a really wonderful experience. I was definitely able to meet new people and expand my learning, which I thought was amazing. Realize what works for me beyond school, and learn things about myself that I really loved. Learning how I love the environment and that I want to create change, and just to become one with like my local community and learn about the environment and the ecosystem. I just thought was amazing and a wonderful experience.
And you're a senior, so
I
you're
am
heading
senior.
off into having to define more what you're going to do.
And I definitely, through CSCR and through learning about what I like, I was able to discover what I wanted to do in the future and apply that in college and hopefully my career. So I just think that overall it was amazing.
Yeah.
CSCR was probably the highlight of my summer. I always love going to CSCR, even if it was waking up at super early at 7 a.m. during the summer. But I just think it was great being able to see and meet new people. And I also think CSCR offered so many opportunities to all of us as student researchers. And I think it's great how our school is trying to like recognize our work at CSCR and trying to give us like more opportunities to share our knowledge and everything.
I was just gonna add on to what Hannah was saying about how this affects our future and everything.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
You're good, no, you're
I'm
good.
thinking Hannah, and it just confuses
You're
me
good.
sometimes. Oh my gosh. Anyways.
Hannah is one of the members of the team.
Maybe that's, okay, I was just gonna mention that I definitely had different interests before I came to CSCR. Science was definitely not my favorite subject. And I came here just because I've grown up on the Salt Marsh, and that was always an interest of mine. And I started going to CSCR with my best friend, and she is now studying environmental studies at college in Colorado. And now I'm thinking of either majoring or minoring in environmental studies. And I think even though science, I love science, but it might not be my top passion, there's so much you can do with environmental science and so many different areas for careers. So I think CSCR is what the world needs for more people to go into environmental science.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else? I don't want to cut anyone else off. Okay, Owen's expressing himself through film, right? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, all of you. Okay, so now we're going to officially break. Yes.
Can I just add one thing before you
Yeah. Yes.
recognize other people and
Yeah.
scatter them around?
Yeah.
One of the things I didn't say is that this work about moving the MeWe to the summer months, we're working with school leaders and teachers. Ralph's here from Situate. Sean's here from the Neponset River Watershed Association. We're working with
Holly Hill.
Hingham, Hull, Situate, Cohasset, Archbishop Williams High School. That's just the list we're working with. That's not an exclusive list. Schools that I didn't name are certainly also welcome to join us as well. But Sean's got some good things going on with the students at Archie's up in the Neponset River Watershed Association, as I said. And Ralph is doing some great things at Situate High School, and we're all getting together tomorrow with Ben and Grace. Susan will give them a shout out in a second. And I would encourage you to ask these guys to tell you lots of good stories, like the day the newsmen were there, or the day we went kayaking, or the drone stuff the other week at Hingham High School. So many good things to tap in to ask them about, as well as talk with each other. So Susan will transition to the next activity where we can just chat and eat pizza.
Okay. So we have students here. Do we have educators who are not in a school? All right, so we have Holly Hill Farm, and Mary Jo educates in.
Well,
You
actually,
have so many things you do.
Yeah. I'm an educator. I've taught high school, elementary school, community college, university, so I called myself an educator.
Once an educator.
And teachers in the school? Ralph is a teacher in Situate. Jack is retired social studies teacher from Cohasset. We don't have school administrators here today. Is that true? Yeah. But we will tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So tomorrow we have some superintendents, we have principals, department chairs, assistant principals. We're trying to really make time in the curriculum for more of this kind of thing. And so we're interested in what the students have to say and how the schools can actually include this in a way so that everybody benefits. And then we have our government people. If you are part of the federal, state, or town government, raise your hand. Steve, you're on a town committee? Committee? Yeah, I'm on a town committee. Great. And then nonprofit organizations. Excellent. And board members of CSCR or sponsors of CSCR. Me too. And nationally recognized educational consultants who have traveled in for the event.
Yeah, Ben and Grace.
So I wanted to also point them out in particular because they have been part of this grant and the leadership group of the grant, and they're really great at getting people to do design thinking and to listen carefully and absorb ideas and move ideas. They have all sorts of things, like they talk about moving an idea from a skateboard to a bicycle to before you go to a Lamborghini or an airplane. I might have added a few. But as far as design thinking, starting small, moving into bigger ways, they have great perspective on design thinking that's been really helpful and really has buoyed us up as we go forward with these partnerships with schools. So I would like to, at this point, just ask you to meet and greet each other and talk about how might we, and then whatever you're interested in, building more of these kinds of experiences for students. And then before you leave, don't forget the QR code. Say what you liked, what you wondered, and what you might bring to further having more meaningful watershed educational experiences for students. Anything else, Jack?
Time to mingle.
All right, pizza
Mix it up.
on. Pizza for your thoughts.
Go find the person who asked.
I was actually CSCR in high school.